Are we online? Is this working? Can anybody hear me? Hello? Sounds like it. Hello, Dollar Tree. How you going? Happy to answer any questions you've got. Let's close. Just getting set up. And can't see any viewers yet, so don't know if the stream is quite working. Well, it could just be nobody watching, which not unusual. There we go. Intro time. Hello. All right. Hello. Welcome to Fully Defined. My name is Chris. I'm a product design engineer and a SolidWorks expert, and I'm here to teach you SolidWorks and answer any questions you have. So welcome to the stream for anyone watching the replay. Hope you enjoy. If you have a question that you'd like answered, feel free to contact me through the comments, through the school community, which I'll show you in a second, or through Discord, LinkedIn, any other way. There's a few different ways you can get in touch with me. And when anyone does come online, let me know how the audio is. I've been playing with the setup a little bit, so I'd like to know if it sounds okay. Still got a bit of work to go, but yeah, working on that. This stream is brought to you by my Fully Defined community on school. It's all free, free membership anyway. You just need to put a request in and I'll give you access. It is growing and I'm about to push this a little bit harder in the second half of the year. I will be releasing a video pretty soon explaining why I think Lego is a great source of practice material for those learning SolidWorks. What you can get in this school community, I should probably flick over to that screen, is access to these classes, these lessons for building different sides of parts and assemblies, and also access to my CAD library. CAD library showing all this SolidWorks Lego parts that I've done so far and the assemblies. So whether you're interested in practicing parts of a certain type or your assemblies, or there's a certain type of detail that you'd like to learn, let's say you wanted to learn something about sketch contours, for instance. You could look at this part, or you could look at maybe a part that's got a video link to it here, but this one you could learn about patterns, splits, boolean stuff, and moved body by going to that video and seeing that section of the live stream. So this is here, this is all free. It's a Google Sheet, anyone can get in there. I'd just ask you to join the community if you're going to do so and give me any feedback as you go. So those in the community can post their questions or requests for content. I pin those and I answer them live on stream. And that's what I'm waiting for from Dollar Tree. If he's going to let me know what his question was, him or her. Anyone that does have questions throughout the stream, just jump in, put them in chat, and I will get to them as soon as I take a little break from whatever it is I'm doing. Now, last week we started a new Build and Learn series, just a little Lego one, just to get back in the swing of things before we do a bigger one coming up. This one's a little Boba Fett Starship Microfighter. Now, for those that haven't seen the stream before and how I go about these types of projects, I've already built a bit of a library. We have a look at all the parts required in the project and some that we've already done before, so we might just be changing the colors. Some we're recreating from scratch anyway. and others we're or we're modeling just from the start, and I'm explaining the process as I go. So there are parts that are more complicated than others. There's a lot of repeat stuff here, so I'm not going to repeat every single part, but the ones that have some interesting geometry, that's kind of our focus here. And then once we've built all the parts and put them together into an assembly, as you can see, like I'm building here, then we'll go through the assembly process and learn a bit about assembly in SolidWorks as well. So this is week 2, you haven't missed much so far. And once I get organized with these, I'll send out a link in my school community. Also will be in the description of the YouTube videos and the replays, where you can go and download these files. I'm using SolidWorks 2023, so if you have that or newer, you'll be able to use them. But I also export step files, so if you have a different software, you can still use the same files. Dollar Tree, I've got your dot there. Those watching, anyone watching, just let me know if you can hear me and things are looking okay. Otherwise, we will get into it and we'll pick the first couple of parts that we're going to do in this session or focus on today. And I would like to do some that are a little bit more complicated. I think we started with some easy ones last week. So I'm not looking at anything too easy here. I think the ones we're going to do, let's put some circles around them. I would like to do this clear one over here. So let's just put a nice line around that one. So we're going to do that part over there. What else should we look at? Oh, mate. Oh, I was looking at the wrong chat. Hold on. Dollar Tree, your comments didn't come through. I can only see a full stop. Yeah, but please, they didn't come through. But I believe in the description of the video, you should find a link to my Discord. You can send me a message in Discord. I'll read it out on stream and give you a response. How about that? So here is my Discord, fully defined. Jump in here, fully defined. Let me get the invite thing out there. So try that link, yeah, jump on that link. That'll take you to the Discord. You can send me your chat message from there. Sorry that didn't work, or it got blocked out by YouTube to start. Not much I can do about that, sorry. No problem at all, take your time. All right, back to the parts that we're going to do. So we've picked this one here. If there are any requests out there from any viewers, let me know. I will have to drop this link somewhere in the chat. Let's look at, I think this looks like an interesting part, this one up here. And I think even though we've done one of them before, like a similar one, we could probably do this piece. So they're the 3 that we'll get started with. A lot of others are repeat parts. I won't repeat every single part on stream, as I've said, just the main ones. And so what I do have is this, call it my Zoom cam. It's coming on now. This lets me show you the parts up close and show you the process I use for measuring them with my calipers and recreating the detail accurately. So we're not doing guessing here. We do things by the millimeter or even smaller. So you can see these parts. We'll have a look at all the detail, talk about some of those, and learn a bit about them as we progress as well. So let me just find that other part. I've got all the parts here in front of me. Just need to break them all apart. All right, here is the 3rd one we're going to focus on. So Dollar Tree, question. Thank you for that question. New to SolidWorks, started mechanical engineering 10 years ago, then left the field. Now again, 2026, want to learn new skills, so SolidWorks is what fascinates me. FPV Kev, hello. Going well, thanks for joining the stream. Just starting a new little Lego project, get back in the swing of things before a very big Lego build coming up with a lot more advanced topics. We've picked out some parts for today. All right, Dollar Tree. Left the field now, I want to learn new skills. SolidWorks is what fascinating. Okay, Dollar Tree, I'd ask like what your larger goals are. Are you employed? Are you looking for work, or is this more of a hobby? Because that will determine like where you want to go with these skills. I would assume you're probably heading more towards employment, or you might be employed already, in which case, what I've learned over the last couple of years in particular, and where I've really got ahead in my career, is compounding the skills. So like SolidWorks, or being able to do really good 3D modeling is one skill, but you want to add others to that to get yourself up and more valuable as an employee, if that's the path you want to take. So you want to combine 3D modeling knowledge with like DFM knowledge, or injection molding, or project management, or design thinking, design intent, presentations, a range of things. Is the big build that Speed Champions car, the one on the wall? Not quite there yet, no. But if it works out, this is what we're going to do. I'll show you this one. Hold on. Coming up. I think this could be good for surfacing. A lot of people have been asking me about surfacing projects in SolidWorks. This is just released. Piastri helmet. If you didn't know, Piastri sponsored by Quadlock, which where I work. So yeah, love the connection there. It's really cool to see our brand logo on Lego. So I was excited to purchase this last week. Haven't opened it yet, but I think that could be the big project that we'll do next. A lot of people have been asking. About surfacing in SolidWorks, so that could be the one. Let's see. All right, let's get started with some of these parts. I've been eyeing off this one here. So I'm just going to jump over to the right screen. Okay. Now, how we go about building these parts, we use Rebrickable and Bricklink as references. So let me find it over here. I think Bricklink is the one. It's officially combined with Lego. We can see the inventory for this set, which is here, and we can find all the parts, and then I'll be able to find the name of the part and the number. If I click on the part, it's going to take me there. And it's going to give me a description for the part. And if I was interested, I could also look at some 3D. Now, these 3D is never as good detail as what I want to get to. All right. I'm not going to judge too harshly. It looks okay. What we want from this, though, is just the name. And you can see as a reference some of the detail in this, and then we're going to measure it and build it out. Okay, so it is a windscreen 6x2x2 with bar handle. I'll just copy that and save that for later. Now let's jump over to SolidWorks. FPV Kev, yeah, I reckon the helmet does look awesome. Don't know when I'm going to open it, but I will soon. All right, time to model a part. So first we talk about design intent. Now I don't do this for every single part, but I'm going to do it for this one. So a few things that we're going to pick up when looking at this part. It's got a flat bottom here. So if that's sitting like when it's assembled, it sits like this. Okay, which means there's flat across here and then straight up to here. And the Lego here, the two studs on the top, they're going to match with something. All right, and we can probably see it in this example. Maybe a better example is this part. If I put the end down here, those two studs that we can see, they're lining up with these studs underneath. So that gives us our length of the part. It's 5 long. And the width as well, like we can see there's obviously a lot of consistency in the Lego system, so that's going to help. Yes, rebrickable and bricklink are very similar, but slightly different. I think I use rebrickable for some of the other stuff that I do. So many good references out there, and I'm going to touch on them in the YouTube video that's to come soon. All right, so we've got an idea of the width. Of course, we're going to measure out. CAD-wise, the way to build this, like we could build this as a solid and shell out the material, or we could just build like the walls and do them individually. We're going to assume that it's got a consistent wall thickness, runs down the middle. We can see that these two little areas here, they've been hollowed out. So anytime I see like a hollow detail like that, it suggests to me that I should use a shell tool because I can remove all of that at the same time. So if this wall is the same thickness, doing the shell will be good. I could just sketch the shape we see on this side profile, sketch that all the way, or do a sketch in the middle, extrude it, whatever width I need to. So this width, and then do that shell. Now the shell, I can remove this material here and here, and then I can add on this as the next step afterwards. So this is very similar detail that we see in a lot of different parts that snap together. This one, if I just find another part that this connects into. And I can't see one on my desk right now. Had one earlier. A little snap hook that kind of bends around that. That's what that's going to fit into. Here it is. Okay, so that detail, pretty tightly toleranced. We'll get that correct as well. Okay, so let's start with that. Jump back into SolidWorks. And here we go. So work out what plane we want to start on. Probably put the right plane going through the middle. So I'm going to go right plane. And then I'm going to grab some dimensions. Now I can see it's got like a flat edge there and flat section at the top. I'm going to put the origin in the back corner. So I'm just going to draw the shape first, and then I will come back and add my dimensions and relations. If you see any shortcuts or mouse gestures that I use and you're curious to know what they are, just let me know. All right, so dimensions, going to look at, so the calipers, so Mitu Toyo calipers, very accurate. I'm going to go from this back edge to this top edge. And I'll have to verify this later when I do the assembly. I'm getting like a 40. I'm going from the inside edge to here, 40.6. So that's going to set the scale of the part. The first dimension rescales everything. And then the height. I think when we build this later, that's going to help us work on the height when we assemble it later. Because it's a bit difficult now to actually get that fully accurate. Here I get like 18.8, about 19. It's going to be somewhere around that. Let's see what we've got at the moment. We're going to put the dimensions in. We can always tweak later. That front edge that's flat, 2.5. And then the curve section versus the straight section. There's no identifiable flat edge there. So really have to eyeball that. And I'm going to give it, let's say 8, which is very typical Lego. Okay. Now we're going to do this shape on the inside. So that one we can measure. That has a thickness there of 6.4. And on this end, 7.8. So I'm going to sketch a little section here, just a line, and I'm going to grab this line and do offset sketch. 6.4, reverse, okay. And then put my dimension in here for this line, 7.8. And bring this back here. Could you clip it to that long flat plate to measure the height more accurately? Absolutely, I could do that. We could clip it. Like my point kind of is for this, Kev, if I just wanted to do this individual part and not worry about the whole series, I could do that now. Or what will happen later is when it is assembled and I get to the assembly step and I do this, right? Once I've built everything up, all the other flat parts are going to have the right dimensions, which means I'll be able to work it out then. So like I can go to extra effort now, or I can just wait and the natural course of things will get me to the correct dimension later. If I'm a little bit off, which kind of looks like I'm a little bit off. Those two kind of match. If I have some other parts here, that one looks too big. Okay, but I think it going to sit something like that. So there's probably a brick. Something like this would sit under there. Now if I do that, you can see it doesn't quite look straight. It's still too low. So that needs another step beneath it. Now I'd say that looks about right. Okay, so if I measure this, from here to here, 22.2 minus 3.2. So it'd be 19, which we've got 18.8. We're pretty close. I'll just round it to 19. But yep, great idea to use other available parts to get more accurate with your measurements. Okay, now this has this little bump on the end. Or if it's just rounded. Sort of very small fillet there. I have a fillet gauge set, but probably not small enough for this one. I think this one here, R1, show you what I mean. So there's that on that edge, fillet. And get a good video. Probably looks pretty close. Why not is. You can download little fillet gauge set from lots of 3D printing websites, so or make your own. All right, so we'll put that fillet in later. I'm going to finish this sketch with a straight line across the side. Make this tangent. And now, at this point, with the sketch is done, ready for this extrude. If I trim these lines, I'm going to lose my dimensions and some of the relations. So you don't have to trim. I used to do this all the time, but a lot of speed modeling through Too Tall Toby's stuff, and seeing how other guys use SolidWorks has actually lent me more towards just leaving the sketches there and the geometry there, and using selected contours much more often. So if I look at the width of this part, it's going to be like 15.8. Okay, pretty standard. I'm going to press extrude, and because I've got multiple contours there, it automatically asks me for the contour. Like that's the first selection that SolidWorks brings up. Select the contour, change to mid-plane, 15.8, and OK. Right, and that's just, you know, the information's there, the sketch is all there. Yes, the icon looks different. When I first taught at uni, I'd teach all the students, trim away everything and just leave one contour there, but I think this is actually a better approach. So probably going to change some of my teaching habits as I go on. All right, so next we can do those two studs on the top, ready for the shell. So for the studs, sketch on that flat plane, grab a circle, and these should be 4.8 or 4.9. 4.9, we'll round up. Pardon me. I'm going to mirror, so use the right plane, mirror, select the sketch, OK. And then distance between them. I know that these will be 8. And if I wanted to measure and check that, I can measure the outside of those two and get 12.8. And so if you take the diameter of one off that dimension, that'll tell you how far they should be apart. Now I'm going to round it. I'm not using 7.95 or anything like that. I'm going to go to 8. It's going to be 8. Later, we'll work out the exact position that this should be relative to its length. It should be something like 4.9 from the edge. I think that overall length might be a bit wrong. It's okay. Let's put in 4.9. We just want it fully defined. We can always update the dimensions. Now to dimension how tall those are, I don't need to try and just measure the height of that stud. I can grab the whole height of this part. Okay, across that section, we get 8.2. Now, if I'd done my sketch on this bottom face here, I could extrude straight up, 8.2. But another way of doing that is put in the dimension 8.2 and select offset from surface, and actually select, like I can select this face and do reverse offset, change the angle, sorry, like that. And so it's going to extrude this up offset 8.2 from the selected face down here. So I can put in the exact measurement that I got from the calipers and measuring the part. One way of doing it. All right, so that's the start of our part. This point, let's save. We go back to name of the part. Now I use the number as well, 92474. Let me just check. I think it's going to be the same here. Yep, 92474. I'm just trying to remember the process that I went through for saving. I'm pretty sure I used the rebrickable name, but break link for the references. So I'm going to copy that name, go save here, and I'm going to save it in my parts library. And in the parts library, you'll see some parts with different colors, saved with different colors, but where I'm at now, I don't save different geometry as colors, we do the colors as configurations. So you'll see plate 2x2, and that'll have different configurations for that part. So save this one, and then let's keep going. And the next step is going to be the shell. So let's try and measure that thickness. So I can measure the thickness of one of these sidewalls, 1.35. And I want to try and get this section here is a little bit thicker right on the edge. 1.55. I wonder what that top section is. Don't know if I'll be able to measure it actually. So we might do a shell with a variable thickness. All right, so if we want to get 1.4 on the sides, 1.3, 1.5 everywhere else. That says 1.7, 1.5. And I'll have a look at those holes in a second. So we'll go shell. 1.5 is our default. Press show preview, always turn on preview so we can see what it's doing. I'm going to cut away this, and this. And so then when you select this edge, it means the shell is going to come all the way to that face. If I don't, it's going to leave some thickness there. Which actually I might want to do. I think I do want to leave some thickness there. But on the bottom, I want that to come all the way down. So it's going to do 1.5 everywhere. But if I want custom, I go multi-thickness. I put in the dimension, 1.3. And then I'm going to change this face. So watch what happens in the preview. Look, that wall gets a little bit closer. All right. Same on this side. So those walls will be 1.3 thick. Everything else will be 1.5. Press OK. And we can see the result. All right. It's pretty small. But yeah, from here to here, 1.5. Here to here, 1.3. Now, place where we can check that thickness is these holes. So I can measure internal diameter of that hole. Let me make sure I get the right thing. I'm getting 2.2. If I select that face, I get a diameter of 1.9. So the thickness needs to be less. And it needs to be 0.15 less in that area. I think that's right. So it needs to be 1.35 in those sections. So what I'm going to do is select this face. See how that hole just got bigger? Let's just select those two. And now click on the hole again. And that says it's 2.3. I want it to be 2.2. So I can click on that and make that 1.35. 1.25. All right, now 1.35 was the right way. Now that's a 2.2, that's the right dimension. Cool. All right, so one shell feature, but multiple variants of thickness. Pretty neat. All right, let's just apply a clear material to get the idea here. With the part, it is a plastic part. It is clear plastic. It is probably ABS, but I don't think we have ABS as a material here. So we can just use polycarb. That looks All right. If we wanted to tint it, this is like a black tint on this one. We can go to our appearances, edit that material. That would be polycarb with a white type color, but I can go pink, or green, or here a little bit gray. And that's going to give me the right kind of look. Okay, we keep going. Now we've done that shell, I can fillet those edges. So I'm just going to click on the edge, and fillet comes up here in the shortcut bar. So I press 1, and I'm going to do those 2 edges, press OK. And now let's do the little detail on the end. So that comes out a certain distance, and then we get a full round here, which is 4.9. Okay, so we will do on the right plane a sketch. We're going to draw a circle. We'll draw from the bottom of that across top, across here. Now to get our length, best way to do that here, I can measure a few things. So there's I'll just zoom in and show you. The part that goes through the middle, skinnier, so I can measure that. It's 3.75. I'm going to do an extra sketch. So extra circle here, 3.75. Pardon me. And then I can dimension the gap between those two. I can see it's 2.45. So back then in SolidWorks, I can go from this edge, hold Shift, go to that edge, put my dimension in. What did I say it was? 2.45. I'm going to round it to 2.5. Okay, so that works on that position. And then I just need to work out its height relative to the rest of the detail. To do that, we can measure from the top edge to the bottom edge. So that face to that face, and we get 8. Perfect. So I'm saying from down here to here, 8. That looks pretty good. All right, now we can extrude it. Now again, we it goes all the way to the edges. Pardon the asthma. All the way to the edges, but just that thickness on the outside bits. So I'm going to measure that at 2.1. There's a few ways of doing this. Keep it simple. I'm going to do an extrude of the whole thing. I'm going to go up to surface, and I'm going to do the same thing in direction 2. And I'm going to merge it. And then I'm going to reuse that sketch. And I think the gap was 2.1. So now I'm going to do an extruded cut. Contour, I'm going to select this contour and this one. And I'm going to go offset from surface, 2.1, like that. Now I do have two different dimensions here. Sorry, they're the same dimension, but two different inputs. If I wanted to maintain the symmetry of this part and I was going to do a lot of changes to it, I'll probably just model it in half, do the whole thing in half, and then mirror at the very end. But we haven't done that today, so I'm going to do it like this. Right, so here is a nice little example of how to use contours for two operations, but to get a neat result that is correct and accurate. That part's now looking pretty good. I do have to remove a bit of material on this bottom face. So there's a bit of a cut down here that drops down, and I can see it's like that. This edge here, if I do a little measurement from one edge to the other, you can see that drops down 3.6. So this is a pretty easy tweak. I'm going to do a rectangle here. Now here's a little tip for doing this kind of sketch. I want it to be on this edge and this edge at the same time. But if I click here, I'm going to have to, well, I don't know if it's that big a tip. Anyway, let me just show you what I'm talking about. I'm trying to do this in as fewer clicks as possible, basically. So I'm going to click it here on this edge, but then drag this across and drop it on that edge there. So just, it's easier to move it, right? The alternative is, let's say I do like a sketch here and drop it on this edge. I guess then I just have to move this one up and down to get to that corner. Yeah, okay. Maybe not so much of a tip, but pretty easy kind of movement. This one goes down 3.6. I'll just change that to blind. All right, now I think this part's finished. I think we've done all the detail we need to in this one. Yeah, cool, nice work. Anyone follow along, have any questions? Let me know. As I go through the process and build the parts, I drop them all into the assembly. When I'm done with all the parts, I save this assembly file as a copy, and I just have that there as a reference for anyone that wants to pick up the project. They can download the assembly file and then just go through and build it like a normal Lego assembly. That'll come later on. Yeah, what you think? Or anyone have any requests for the next part being done? Let me know. I'll just leave those up on the screen while I grab a quick drink. Just check, I've got a few messages coming through. Cool. So this one is, it's another part ticked off. So this one down here, mark that one as done. And then we'll jump on to our next ones, which I think we'll do this one in the corner here. And this is a modifying part. FPV Kev, thanks very much. Good to see you. Enjoy your work day. That'll be me tomorrow for the end of the week. Catch you soon. All right, let's jump over to our next part. And we're going to use, so the one we're going to do, obviously this part here, let me bring up the inventory, part inventory, and then find the part which is here. Open that up. So this part is a wedge plate 6x3. So we've already done some plates, did some in the last lesson. Did them a lot easier this time around than we did have modeled them previously. This is a modified version of that. Obviously there's going to be some details the same and some completely different. If we have a look at, example of 2 parts here, we have the wedge plate, and it's 6 by 3 because even though there's no studs here, it's actually kind of three wide, and then it's wedged and it's cut. You can see this one, which is 8 by 2. It's only got that sort of one row up the middle of the bigger circles. But we can use something like this to then modify and get this kind of result. Let me copy that name and jump over and open up this one. So I haven't renamed this part yet, but I will. Let me do that now. We have this one, 3034. Plate 2 by 8. I'm going to save this as a copy and open. Now, saving it as a copy and open does not replace the reference in the assembly. So I can close the original document. This is the new document. You see the file name has changed. And if I come back into my assembly, what I want to do, this one is the old plate 2 by 4. That's actually the same file as this. No, that's 2 by 2. This is 2 by 4. This one here. Now that one's got the right name to it, so I'm going to keep that. This one had the wrong name, so I'm going to replace it. I'm going to right click, drop down, replace component, only the selected one, and I'm going to replace it with this part. And it doesn't look like anything's happened, but the file name has changed, so now I know that that's the right one. And you'll see at the top here, I've got 3 parts, all different file names. They look very similar, but now I've got the correct name part in the assembly. If I edit it, not going to get too many issues. Shouldn't get any issues. And so now this one, I'm going to start with this. I'm going to go File, Save As. And this time I'm going to save as a copy and open. And I'm going to change the name. So I'm going to use this name. And I'm going to put that in. Wedge plate left. Save, copy, open. All right, close the original document. And this is my new part. Now, when I did this one previously, I'd done some work on configuration. So this is what we did in the last lesson. And these configurations that I'd set up enabled me to change from what was the 2 by 2 or 2 by 4 to a 2 by 8 and 2 by 16 in configurations very quickly and easily, right? We're going to change that now, and we're going to create a new 2 by or a 3 by 6, and then we'll cut the wedge off. So I'm going to come down to this size, just minus those 2 there, make it wider, and then we're going to modify other detail after that. So put that one aside. I'm going to go to the default configuration. I'm going to delete these other configurations, don't need them. In this part, I will end with just one configuration. I won't have variants, except for the colors. And now we'll work on just changing the size of this. So I'm not worried about the configurations now. I'm just going to go and make the changes that we need. So first up, the size. The rule with Lego is a 1x1 plate is 7.8 by 7.8 millimeters. And for every extra stud you add on, it adds on another 0.8 millimeters. So this one is 31.8. We want to add on another 16. So I'm going to change that number and go plus 16. And then for the width, it's 7.8 plus 8. And we want to add on another plus 8. So I go here, plus 8. And now that's the correct size for this brick here. 47.8 by 23.8. If I want to verify that, get my calipers, pop it in. You see I'm getting 47.8, 0.83, close enough. And then here, 23.8, 23.4. Now, this is useful to know because this is part of the cut here on the wedge. So the wedge is obviously cutting a little bit more. So that's good. We can use that. 23.4. But I'm not going to change this dimension. I'm going to change that when I cut the side off. And I'll explain why in a second. So that's the starting plate size. Then we roll down, and now I get the studs. But now the studs originally were in the right position because they're in the middle. Now the number of them needs to change. So I'm going to go here. These were set up as a sketch pattern. So this number 2, I'm going to change to a 3. And the number 4, I'm going to change to a 6. And now I need to go in and edit the relations that are set up. So I put a construction line here, and the midpoint of that was with the origin. That needs to change. So I'm going to delete this relation. And then I'm going to grab this one that was in the middle, and I'm going to hold Control and make that. Let me try again. Hold Control, make that one horizontal. And now that was the only change I needed to do. They're in the correct position because this 1.45 was setting the exact distance this needed to be from that bottom edge. All right. Now we need to change to the right shape, which we're going to cut an edge off. We may as well do from this view, which is we're on the top view. I don't really think it matters which angle. The isometric angle is going to be like this. Should I have it look like maybe like that? So maybe I cut this bottom edge off. Probably looks a bit better than this. Probably doesn't matter too much. So top view. So we're going to get rid of a lot of these studs here. Now the easiest way for me to do that is just come into the sketch pattern, just select them. I don't want to delete them. I just want to make them for construction. So it's just going to turn them off. For construction. And so now the extrude's just going to do those 9 that were there previously. And then we see the next step in our feature tree is the shell. If I do the shell, roll that down. Okay, that works, and I get all the holes that I want on the bottom, but I probably want to do the cut here before the shell, because you can see how the detail comes around this wall and around the corner. So I want to keep that going. So I'm going to come back into this, roll back above the shell, and I'm going to do my cut here. And so this is where those dimensions before pay off. I'm going to do a sketch. And from here to here it was 23.4. And then I want that dimension. I'm going to bring that to 7.8, like everything else. All right, so I've got the shape. I'm going to extrude cut through all. All right, so that's that's got my wedge shape now. But when I roll down the shell, I had a custom wall thickness for one of the sides. So you can see it's missing face. at a 1.5 thickness. So I've just got to replace that, press the tick here, press OK. And now let's do some measurements to check that wall thickness. So 1.5, yep, and 1.5 here. Yep, 1.46, close enough. Great, so that's looking good. Now we roll down again for the next step and see where that leads us. We can see that that sketch also needs to be modified. Now that was central to the origin, so we're going to change that one. Bring that down. I'm going to increase the number to 5. I'm going to keep this one vertical of the origin. Oh, don't need that, because this one is already it's already referencing some of the other sketches we've got, these ones here. That's handy. And it's handy to use some other references there, because instead of creating new geometry or new relations or sketch points, I can right click this one, select midpoint, hold Control, make that horizontal to get that position right. So that's my 5 holes across the bottom. I've got 2 going that way, so I'm going to select just these 2 here, do a linear sketch pattern on the y-axis, and make that 8mm, dimension it. All right, so I've got those 2 holes. And then we can see in the part that that one is pretty normal, but that one and that one are modified. They've got some different details in some of the edges. So we will create that. I'm going to press OK on this extrude thin. We've got some detail sitting on the outside. Let's clean that up quickly. There's a few ways of doing that. One easy way is to grab this cut extrude and just redo it. So grab it again, press OK, cut down. That cuts it off for me. That was nice and easy. All right, and now the remaining detail. I'm wondering if we should worry about it too much, like these little holes here, or that little bit of thickness. Like this is not probably some of the rules that I follow when I'm building a Lego is I'm worried about the main geometry and what connects to other parts and avoiding interference. But little stuff like, and I'll do the ribs, but you know, a little bit of thickness on the inside of this and this, probably don't go to that level of trying to get that super accurate. What I will do is just cut away these holes here, and then I think this part's done. All right, so I'm going to do this one. A few ways of doing it. The sketch, if I convert, that's going to give me the outside edge. And then if I grab a line here to there, that's going to kind of give me the inside. And because there's a few ways of working out where exactly those gaps are, I think the easiest thing is to just measure them. Just to say, okay, this one starts at 10.5 and then draw it in, just sketch it in. So it's going to be perpendicular. And I'm going to go from this edge here, 10.5. And then I can look at the gaps. So I can say, okay, between those 2 edges, there's a gap of 5.3. So there's one there. And I'll just draw in the rest and then add all the dimensions at the end. There's one right on that corner. Might even be like that. All right, so a couple of dimensions. And I might find when I do the assembly that there's some interference. That's when I'll just simply adjust the dimensions to remove that, unless it's intentional. Each of these dimensions is just going to help fully define and get the detail correct, and make it quicker for any changes to happen next time. That's why the fully defining is so important, because even if you don't get the dimensions right the first time, it's such a quick change next time round. And here we can check our dimensions. We got one more line here. So if this is 2.3, that last gap 5.2, I think we might be a little bit under, pretty close, within like 0.2 of a millimeter. That's fine. All right, so again, we've just done basically a section of a lot of contours. I'm going to extrude cut. I'm going to select my contours, so I'm selecting all the gaps that we're going to cut down, which is these 4. And then I'm going to select up to surface, cut down to here. And then if we have a look at how that part looks in comparison, we can make some adjustments. This looks okay. This looks okay. Like that's how it looks in the part. It's kind of weird. That one's fine. See, this one, it joins up in the model because you can't, in tooling, you can't have a little gap that's that small. All right, but we won't worry about that here. This one looks pretty accurate. So that part now done. That is our wedge plate left. Drop that into the assembly. And you will have noticed that in the instructions, there's a left and a right version there. So we need to do the right version too. Multiple ways of doing that kind of detail. Creating the part. I'm going to focus on the simplest version, which is going to be grab the file name, wrong file, sorry. Grab the file name, which is going to be here. So this is right. And if I always want it to link to this geometry, instead of saving a copy, what I'm going to do is insert this into a new file. I'm going to insert, I'm going to, first start a new part. Then I'm going to go insert part. So I'm putting a part into another part. I'll select the wedge. Include solid bodies, press OK. And I'm going to grab the right top front plane. I'm going to mirror this body, uncheck merge, and then use delete keep body to select this body, press OK, and then save. and save that file with my other parts. Now, so you might wonder why we would do that kind of change rather than a mirror in the assembly or anything else. Let me show you what will happen. Firstly, if I just saved a copy, then if I wanted to make a change to one of these, I'd have to do the same change in the copy file. It's not really efficient use of your time. If I'd done it just in the assembly, then I'm pretty sure I would get errors just based on previous experience. But the parts would have the same name, all right, which wouldn't make sense. I'd have a part left and another part left, but the left version is a mirror of the original. Doesn't quite work. There is a mirror. The mirror components feature within assemblies can allow you to create a mirrored version like I've just done here. I've just shown you a cleaner way of doing it. So I see this option as the one that, okay, let's assume later I'm going to make some changes to this to get, let's say, interference out of the way or clean up any problems that I find. I'm just going to do a really obvious one right now. Let's say that I need to change this to 26. Nah, it doesn't make it so clear. Let me make one even more clear. Let me put a fillet on the bottom edge. So let's say I put a fillet on this edge, big and round, okay, 5. This one doesn't have the fillet. But as soon as I click in here, it's updated because this part is linked. So even though I haven't saved it yet, it's there. Right? Now I can come back into this file and let's change that fillet again. Just go to 8, bigger, error. Click on this one, drops off. Sorry, camera was blocking the view. All right, so fillet in this file. This file is linked to this one, it's inserted. So any change to this will update here automatically. And so it saves you a lot of time and means that other versions of this part downstream from this, so the child parts, are always going to have the same detail. And once I've done that, okay, I've saved that part, can go back into my assembly, insert the second one, and now I've got them both. Another one done. All right, let's flip over and just see where we're at for today. So we've got through both of those two now. So I'll give that one a green dot and that one as well. So we'll probably do a very similar process for this part when we get to it. I'll probably do that off stream. There might be one more stream for parts and then I think assembly. We'll probably finish this off for this little project, mini project, and then it will be available on school. So for anyone jumping into the replay or the live stream later, welcome. My name's Chris. Everything available here or that you see me working on is available through my school community, which is free to access. You can jump in the fully defined library, download your own files, and you can go through all these courses to learn how to build your own Lego parts. All right, and learn from me as I've built certain geometry. So if there's certain geometry you like, right, let's say there's a certain step symmetry, for instance, or revolve detail you want to see, come into the library, have a look, find the video, find the reference part, and you can learn how to recreate it on your own. That is the sponsor of today's video. Okay. This one's marked with green, actually. I wonder if we've already done it before. Is it already in the assembly? It is. Okay, we're not going to do that part today then. So I need another part to do. What else can we choose? If there is one viewer, if you would like to choose a part from your model, please let me know. And I'll pick that one and do that for you. And they've gone. Okay. Okay. So I get to choose then. What can I smash through? So I've got a lot of edit parts. Why they're marked as edits is because I probably need to change the colors or make some minor adjustments to those. So why don't I try and go through those changes to tick off as many parts as I can in the next 45 minutes. Info. I should update that. What should we say? Building Lego in SolidWorks. Ask me anything in the chat and I'll respond to the next chat. Yep, cool. That's good. All right. All right. This small brick. Let's find the name. This one. Cheese slope. Find our reference part. This one. And I think they're going to be pretty close. Let's have a look. Got this one. And where is the bigger version? Here. Green one and a grey one. Hello, whoever's watching. Welcome to the stream. So these two are pretty identical. Underneath, this one's got a little cut on the end. The geometry is the same, it's just in half. So I've opened up this previous version of the part and I'm going to save a new version, save as, and I'm going to put the new name in. So slope 30 degrees, 1 by 1 by 2/3. So the 2 divided by 3 won't work. Slope 30 degrees, 1 by 1 by 2/3. Yep, so I've just got to change the number. Was 54200. 54200. Slope 1 by 1 by 2/3, and I drop the color off. Save as copy and open. Close original. Configurations, no configurations, that's fine. Let's remove the appearance and let's change the details to match. 15.8 wide, I think it will be 7.8. Yep. So change that. And this will cause some errors probably. Let's see this cut. It's going all the way through. If I remove that, how does that look? That part looks much better. This cut needs to just change to a circle in the same position. So it's going to be a 5.2 diameter circle. So delete that, put 5.2 here, and line this up in the middle. So get that vertical and get that one horizontal. And it's just creating this little cut on the underside. Very tiny detail, but that's going to be needed to avoid interference later. I'm going to roll down the feature tree, and that last detail, that's not there, that this kind of boss support. So I'm going to delete that. All right, save that. Move that into the assembly. Worry about colors later. It's a pretty straightforward process to add the colors as we finish off. So that was a very quick update. That one is done. Edits, this one, little brick, 2x2. The only edit for that is color. I will have a 2x2 brick somewhere. Let's just look at the name of that part. I feel like I'm going to have to overwrite a file. This one. 30 plate 1x2. Let's first see if I've got any of those. I've got 1x8, which has configurations. So I'm going to open that one. One by two. That looks pretty good. We're going to save that as. Copy and open. Nice and easy with configurations already built in. Close the original. Bring this into the assembly. Another one done. Cool. Close that, back here, and we tick that one off. Okay, this curved, this round one. Wonder what an edit of that one's going to be based on. So I'm going to open up my files. Shows you a bit of the library of parts. And I'm just looking for an example that I can use to build that part that's going to save me some time. The way that it's built, it's like a tall brick, but it's a circle. So maybe this kind of brick here would be better. I think it will. So I'm going to open that brick, which has configurations. I'm going to come across here, find that curved part. It's reference. It's this one. Round brick corner, macaroni with stud notch and reinforced underside. Such a long name. Just going to use that part there. And save this as. I think we might totally rebuild this part. We will see in a second. Because even though like the height is probably the same, I'm going to guess that a lot of other stuff isn't. How about the spacing? It does fit like in a 2x2 configuration, so that's why we start with this block. We're going to remove the design table. So there's all these configurations here, which I'm just going to delete because we're not going to need those. And so anything here that was originally as part of those configurations, I've got no need for those anymore. So I'm going to just delete those too. It's going to clean up my feature tree and maybe make it a bit easier for what I'm about to do. Now, a lot of these features are probably not even needed, but with the way that this was built so that the whole thing could have different configurations and work for a lot of different sizes. Don't think that's applicable anymore. And a lot of the detail on the inside is completely going to change. So I don't need, for instance, I do, like it does use some of the little ribs. You can see like here. All right, but this structure is a lot different. We definitely don't have this in the middle. Delete that. Delete those big ones. All right, and then let's come back before the shell. Okay, so this is where we want to start because it's a circle. It will make a circle. And I'm pretty certain that the edge of this would match. So you look here, that line is straight there, which makes it very easy for cutting this shape out. Go on the top plane, and I'm going to create a circle from here that goes to this edge, and then another circle from here that goes to the middle. See if that works out. So select midpoint, coincident. Don't know if that's going to work perfectly. Let's just measure. 7.7. That's going to be 7.9. So it's a little bit bigger than that. I'm going to spread that out. Grab those two, make it 7.7. And then going to extrude cut through all. And flip side to cut. So I'm going to cut the outside of my sketch. And then to get rid of this little section on the top, use a delete face. We can easy, if you have the right settings on, to remove those two faces and clean up your geometry. Okay, so that's the start of this part. We want to do our shell, which removes the material on the underside. And then we want to add a bit of extra detail. It's interesting, you can see the shell here, it's not consistent. We might find later that we get some interference in this area. If so, we'll deal with it then. This has a couple of ribs, and this mirror, I'm going to get rid of those. And instead, I'm just going to add in those structural elements. So I'm going to go to the top face here, the bottom face, and sketch a line across. Actually, looks like it comes like this. Convert that edge. I'm going to convert this edge and you could do a mirror here. Now let's say I want to get this kind of shape. We can put some measurements in. 1.25. And how far is it from the inside on that side? 4.9. And then there's a little straight bit at the end here. This one is parallel to this, and probably can't measure that detail, too small, but I will use that dimension anyway. 2.3. All right, so we've sketched one side, put a construction line here. So if I select those elements and press mirror, it'll do it for me straight away. I don't need to do any other selections. Then I can extrude. I'm going to go up to surface. I want to go select the contours, because I want to select this area and this area, but uncheck thin feature. That is neat. My last step, cut this material in the middle, so 5.2 across and 7.3 from the top face. So I do one line through the middle, one line to the side, make them parallel, make this one for construction, select these two, press mirror, put a dimension in, 5.2, extruded cut, select contour, offset from surface, I think we said 7.3. 7.3 from this face. That's neat. Okay, happy with that. Right, I think that's why I said this is the edit part, because we're already starting with a little bit of detail. Very neat. Now what number was it? Round brick corner. Okay, another one off the list. That is that one. Okay, I reckon 2 more and we might be done. Anyone watching out there has any questions for me? Needs help with anything, just let me know. Love to help. So we've done similar parts to this one before, and should be able to find and build that pretty easily. Here are the 2 parts, those 2. Okay, so I'm looking at this one, bracket 1 by 2 by 2 inverted. Let's find it. Go open. So we've done this one before. This one is the inverted one. We'll use that. I'm going to open that one up. And this should be it straightforward. It's going to update. So I'm going to save as. Now this is not in our current assembly. So if I just update the name, shouldn't be a problem at all. It's going to save a new version with a new name, bracket 1 by 2, 2 by 2 inverted, save as. And so all the detail we've already got. Even the bottom, yep. We've just got to increase the top size. Here's the interesting thing. This was all done with a mirror. So this is like a hack on a hack. So all I have to do is roll back past the split, come to here, and make this bigger. So I'm going to increase that. $16. It's a bit odd. Normally it's 15.8, but this one's definitely like 15.9, close to 16. And these, we're going to increase this sketch. I'm going to do a linear pattern for those to drop them down. They're going 8 down that way. Okay. Pretty quick update, right? Change a sketch, roll down. Let's see if this updates for us in the right way. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, fantastic. Save. Insert. Oh, there's one there. We did have one there already. That's fine. I'll have to just reinsert the original. Now, I want to get rid of the other configurations in this one. Don't want to use them anymore. So here's a trick to get rid of your configurations and just have the one. First thing you need to know is whatever configuration is active in the assembly, I can't delete it. So I've got to leave that one there. I'm going to delete the default configuration. I'm going to add a new configuration, rename it default. I'm going to Control Tab back to the assembly. I'm going to change this one to default. The part doesn't change at all. It's just the naming configuration that we're changing. And then back in the file, now I can delete the other configurations because they're no longer active. Save it, come back to the assembly, and that part, there's no longer any configurations to it, so we won't get into any trouble. And that is a very quick tip. Now, the other version of that part, was there another version that I needed in the assembly? I don't think so. So I think it's fine that we've replaced it. Yeah, no problem at all. I think we'll just use the original version for this little single one. I think that's why it was there. So I'm going to press my home button and see if it wanted to come up. It does not. So I'm going to go open. And now I'll look for that same part that we just opened before, which was only a single inverted part high. This one. I'm going to grab the file name of that one. That's here. I'm going to save as, quickly save over that name to create the new one. And then just convert this to a single piece rather than a double. Now to do that, I might roll all the way back and just see how it was built. Ooh. Cut. Where are my planes? Front plane's right in the middle. Yeah. All right. A little bit of mucking around to get this right, but let's just do it. 7.8 is the width. All the other geometries there, we're just going to have to edit a bunch of features to get it down from 2 wide to 1 wide, like this. And when I'm doing this kind of work, what I like to do is minimize the errors that I see. So I might roll all the way back and start with something simple. I'm going to start here and just change this to the square that it needs to be, 7.8 by 7.8. I know that that's going to cause an issue here, but that's fine. I'm going to delete all those that I don't need and just keep the original. All these dimensions, don't need them. In fact, just want that hole. Don't even need that point. And I do want to increase this to 4.9. I think that's what I used everywhere else. And I think that's what the actual measurement's pretty close to. Bring that to the origin. All right, much simpler. Roll down. Now this is cutting in half. I don't need that anymore, so I'm going to delete that feature. And the move face feature. Don't need that. The shell feature we're going to keep. Roll down. No errors. And you can see it's good the way it works. Boss extrude here. This we don't need. The single part doesn't have this feature. So I'm going to delete that. And the sketch. Now here's the front detail. We're just going to change it to 7.8. Everything else should update for us. Look, now it comes back to the right size. We've got a cut here because it cut a little bit of material out from that edge. That's correct. And then we've got a little extrude here for the rib. Keep the one in the middle, that's fine. Delete the one on the side. We will just have to update then some relations that are dangling. You can see this one's dangling. Let's just delete those and give this a dimension. Now, I think there's actually a double line here, so I'm going to delete one. And I can tell that because it says equal, equal, and horizontal, horizontal. That's a sign that there's a double line there. So delete one, it removes them. Put the dimension in. Press OK. Save. Now all that detail is looking really good for this part. Roll down. Pick which one we want to delete. The one that doesn't have the dimensions on it usually. I want to keep that 4 dimension, but I want to get this part in the middle underneath the origin. So I'm going to grab those two and make that vertical. I'll keep that construction line, it's not hurting anyone. And then the rest of this should be straightforward. I can delete the linear pattern and delete this mirror feature that we don't need. There we go. I'd say that's quicker than creating everything from scratch. It's much easier to modify the features and the sketches and dimensions than it is to create fresh geometry. So save, Control Tab over to the assembly, insert that one in. Another one, save. Make sure I save that assembly, and another one, tick off the list. All right, last little bit more time. So last two we'll do these two step parts. at least one of them we'll have a quick look at. And the reason for that is this is, again, a part that we've created before, so it's another modification. A couple of changes. It's got some holes in it, that one. This little grey one's a little bit different. But we have done very similar before, which you can see here. So let's just see if that is the same part. I think the height looks different. So I'm going to open that one up, and we're going to find the part here and get the correct name. And we're going to go save as. Don't have this one open anywhere else, so I'm just going to override it. 5 by 2 by 1, 1/3 with 2 holes. And we want 5 by 2 by 2. Yeah, I'm just going to change some of that detail. 7, 6, 7, 6, 6. Okay, so overwrite the file. And then it should be as simple as changing some of the geometry. How is it built? Let's just roll through the tree quickly. So we've got the bottom section here, which will be correct. That goes into 3 and then another 2, so it's 5 long. That is correct. We've shelled it. We've got the hole in the bottom. Just remove that transparency. This ends up being a hole that goes all the way through, and that hole size is 4.9. The inside of this, 4.8, very close. If I change that to 6.5, then it's going to be 4.9. So what I can change here is take, I'm just going to move face, select that face there, flip the direction, change that to 2. It doesn't want to do it. Might just do a simple cut extrude, so grab that face, convert, extrude cut. Toby, hello. Hello. Not a lot of people in the chat tonight, Toby, got to be honest. But good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Been a quiet night for me. What are you up to today, Toby? All right, we are modifying some Lego pieces. We're building a... Oh, wrong slide. Building one of these. Starship Microfighter. Just a little getting back into it stream. Couple of streams to build a few parts. Put it together. And then an assembly and a bigger project to come very soon. Thanks for jumping on, mate, and saying hi. All right, so I'll put that hole through this bottom one. And then what do? Got a linear pattern to get the hole on the other side. That's fine. Thanks, Toby. Appreciate it, mate. There have been a lot of tips in this video, in this stream of nearly 2 hours. And not a lot of people watching it live, but I reckon a few will jump on the replays. We're getting a few replay streams, which is not bad. A couple of hundred. It's been pretty good. Pretty quiet night tonight, though. I don't mind. Right, so this one was then, I'd split the part. So this is where I think I should do that second cut at the same time. So I'm going to edit this feature, the linear pattern feature, and include the cut. So I'm going to jump in the tree here, grab that cut extrude as well. because the two holes carry across. So I'll get that in the pattern. And then when I move this body up here, it's going to have that feature for me. And now what I can do is also change that dimension. So grab the calipers, get that height 22.4, and we can look at the difference in this. So I'm going to, the way that this was done was just moving a dimension, just the move copy body. So I'm going to have to do it manually. I want to get that dimension to 22.4. Use our calculator. I want to move it up another 9.6. So I grab this feature here, that number. Oh, look at that. It's already in there. So just go times 2, 9.6. And so now the overall height should be correct. 22.4. And then we can just roll down the feature tree. Now I'm just going to remove the appearances just so it's a bit easier to see. Roll down the feature tree. All the features we've used last time should still work because that was a up to surface extrude. And let me just roll back down. So that cut goes through. That looks good. The other details, I can't see that boss in there. It's pretty dark. I think that gets left out. So I'm going to delete that feature. Roll down here. This rib is not in there either. I think because the height of the part, it doesn't need it. Perhaps. I don't know, making a guess there. Roll down. This cut extrude. So I did cut the holes, but I did them later. That's okay. I've just changed my feature order. And then we have a couple of ribs. Yep, so those ribs, the position is updated because we've done them based on, that surface. And so that as that surface moves, so do those sketches. Roll down here. Those ones are in there too. I just need to get another rib going through the middle of this, which I can do here. So I'm going to edit this sketch. And I'm going to draw a line all the way through this one. And a few ways of doing this. If I just convert this edge and then trim, and then change this edge to construction, that's going to create those ribs for me without coming through this inside face. Okay, so now I've got that detail on the underside. I think the only detail I'm missing are these very small ribs in the middle section, but I'm happy to leave those out at this point. Okay, so that's another part done. Save that and chuck that into the assembly. It's already there. Then we can create its little mini version. And so like we did earlier, we're going to save a copy, but this time save a copy and open. So I'm going to go find the file name for that one. That's here. It's a small bracket. Again, file, save as. And I'm going to save a copy and open. So this, update my numbers, 73562 bracket 3 by 2 by 1, 1/3 with bottom stud holder. See those little ribs, how they're in both parts? Maybe I should put them in. I think we can leave them, it's okay. I'll just update the name, so delete this little bit here. So save as a copy and open. All right, so very quick to modify. We've got our copied version. And so again, we're going to roll through the tree. So the process, roll back to the start of the tree. We got details right early. Now what's different on this one is the whole thing is only three studs wide. So where I did this linear pattern last time, we don't need to do that this time. So I'm going to delete that pattern. And if you can delete a feature without it deleting other features, that's good. That saves you time. That means you don't have to go through and make a lot of adjustments. Update my shell. Update this feature here. Now there is one of those, but it is not a hole. There's no hole here. So I can delete this feature. And because it's not a requirement for the pattern to continue, I get an error with the pattern. But it still should work. Let me clear those instances to skip. Press OK. There I get my second little circle down the bottom. This sketch needs to change because now we're going to split it at a different point. So I'm going to grab these sketch lines, and I don't want to delete them. Just want to change its position. Because I want to move them both. So I'm going to grab that. All right, this is interesting. I'm going to move that one. And I'm going to put this one over here. And I'm going to move this to the center of that. And move this one to the center of this circle. So that should give me the right spacing. I'm using the same lines. It's going to do the same split when I roll down to the next feature. So you can see it's split that body. And because the bodies have stayed the same and the move copy bodies have stayed the same, the same thing that was happening last time is happening again this time. The dimension here, I think we just have to bring it back to 9.6. I think that's going to be the dimension we need. So from this face to the bottom face, 12.8. 12.8, perfect. All right, and keep all that. I'm going to delete face feature. I'm going to remove that. Don't think that one is needed anymore. The extrude works. But it appears I might have to select some different contours. So I'll just go into the feature itself. And I'm changing the regions. And I'm going to delete all the regions because I want to use that whole sketch. Kind of seals it up. All right, that's looking much more like what I can see here. And then the cut, good. That cuts exactly as I expect. The ribs here, they have an issue with that line that goes through the middle, so I'm going to delete those two. Location of this one and this one. Let me delete that one, change a couple of these dimensions. That's what's happened. Move that over here. Bring that in here. Change that to for construction. and then get these aligned with these points. There we go. They're a bit outside that actually. That's not their correct position. Correct position of those, oh, it's too tiny, I can't quite reach in between. .4 minus whatever the thickness they have. Just updating that feature, it's going to come up to this surface. And their thickness was, if we can find it here in any of the features, 1 millimeter. So this needs to be 9.4, and then it'll be 8.4 in between them. Okay. Roll down. Do I need that little? Yep, keep that little fillet. So just going to remove the missing references. Just press the tick, it'll do it for you automatically. And this last sketch to update here. Just tweak. Oh, that was fun. Turns out I've got some camera battery issues that I'm going to need to resolve pretty soon. Anyway, fix that one up. We're nearly done here. Yeah, Toby, undoubtedly you have a better setup than me. For the longest time, I've had a battery adapter into my camera, which plugs into power, but for some reason it stopped working. Like the adapter still works, but when I try and do the video through the camera, it won't work on that power adapter anymore. And I'm hesitant to spend another $50 just to get the same part to fail again. So I don't know how to fix it. The battery seems to work for a few hours on its own without the adapter, but I really want the adapter so I can stream for as long without issues. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. I'm back. Camera, battery, issues. Yeah, sorry about that. Finishing this one off, I don't need this one and this one. I'm just going to keep them there, but change them to for construction. So I press OK. I still get the ribs. Yeah, still get the ribs. I just want to change their position. So their position before is based on this, which I don't want anymore. So I'm going to delete that sketch. Just grab this line and this line and make them collinear. Puts them in the same spot. Press OK. And then you look at these two parts. I think we're pretty good as far as the detail and the size. So we'll save that. Drop it into the assembly. And which one was it? Nope. Nope. Not that one. Not that one. This one. There we go. And that is a fair chunk of parts done tonight. So let's just recap. For anyone jumping on the end of the stream, you want to see what we did. We're building this Microfighter. Started last week's stream, or previous stream, 2 weeks ago. We've now done all these parts marked in green. So soon you'll be able to download those, SolidWorks 2023 or newer. I'll have the link in the description. If you want to get the full lessons and classes when they're done, jump over to my school community. Toby, I don't know if you've seen this, but just a little place where I'm putting all my little classes and Lego files in my little Lego library, which is here, putting it all together. Jump in there and you get access to all those classes for free and all the database. So just like Kaja R here is asked to join from Morocco. So I approve as soon as they come through, and you get access there. And this just lets me communicate to people what's going on and what content is coming. So yeah, we're getting through these. You can see I've got probably 10 parts left to go, which will finish probably in the next stream. I think we'll finish off, and then we'll get into the assembly. All right, and the assembly will probably take a stream as well. So that'll be the next 2. So if you're interested, come by for those. If you've got any questions or want any of the files, just get in touch. Thank you for everyone who jumped on and asked some questions. FPV Kev, Dollar Tree, Yates as well, and Toby, Too Tall Toby. Toby, thank you very much for jumping on, mate. Good to see you. Have a good night. I need to catch up on some speed modeling tournament stuff. Haven't had time recently to check it out, but I see that there's some new stuff happening, so I'm keen to follow up on some of those stream replays. Thank you, everyone. Have a good week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.